So everybody's talking about a world where AI does everything for us. AI does our job, our chores, our hobbies. That's what Elon Musk is predicting. So in a world like that where work is optional, we'll all just kick back and relax, right? Actually, not really. Nowadays, we use the term work-life balance to mean that we should work less. But in an age where AI will do a lot of our work, I predict that we'll use the term to mean we should work more. Today, we'll dive into the psychology behind why humans need work for meaning, for self-esteem, and for status. And you should care about this because this insight will change the way you think about work in the here and now. Whenever you're feeling like you're overworked, lacking motivation, or just not feeling like doing stuff, the content in this video will make you realize that work, although unpleasant in the moment, is one of the best sources for meaning in your life. So let's dive in. So AI is giving us an incredible what-if mental scenario to go down. What if we don't have to work? Who of us didn't have a moment or many moments of saying, I'm tired of all of this. I just wish I could relax or take a vacation. The thing is, this is not actually new. In the last few years, we've had small-scale experiments of something called universal basic income. That means that you get an income from the government or some other body unconditionally. You don't have to work for it, you just get it. These experiments show us that it does not at all look like the world where everybody just relaxes because they don't have to work. So universal basic income has been trialed at a small scale in communities in Finland, Germany, Kenya, Texas, Illinois, and California. Some of these were quality A/B tests where they compared people who got universal basic income that was about equivalent to $1,000 or more per month to people who got no income or just far less income. Did the people who got universal basic income stop working? That was rarely the case. No major experiment showed mass quitting. The most that people reduced their working hours was about 1 to 2 hours per week. Many of them used the extra flexibility to pursue their education, for entrepreneurship, or to engage in serious hobbies. These are potentially productive long-term work, not exactly the same type of work that they did before they got the income, but work nonetheless. Now, why is that the case? Why do people continue working despite getting an income that's not conditional on their work? Well, psychologists have long understood that people have fundamental needs. All of us do. And what we want is to live happy and meaningful lives. Pretty simple. There are several theories that inform us of what would make a happy and meaningful life. Now, all of them are different to some degree, but all of them also converge on similar elements. One theory like that is self-determination theory that was invented by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. And according to them, the three core human needs to live a meaningful and happy life are autonomy, which means control over our lives, competence, which means feeling like we're skilled, that we mastered important tasks, and relatedness or connection with others. Now let's think about our lives currently. What are areas in our lives where we find autonomy, competence, and connection? For many of us, it's our work. We often have a degree of control in our decisions at work, meaningful control. This is also the place where we show our competence through the skills that we built, and it's also a place where we make a lot of connections through our colleagues and the people that we work with. Even if AI can do our actual work, we'd still need to have a sense of control, competence, and connection. And just relaxing all day would not give us those things, especially not a sense of control or competence. So to get those things, we'd still need to find work to do. We may have more choice in terms of what kind of work we want to do, but we'd still want to do work, I think. Another theory that explains a happy and meaningful life is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that theory stacks human needs from simple to deep needs. That theory says that once basic needs like food and shelter and safety are covered, presumably with AI work, we climb to the deeper needs, which is achievement, respect, and self-actualization, meaning realizing our potential. These are human needs that will not go away even if AI can do some of our work for us. And then there's flow theory by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I pronounced that right, but it's on the screen. This theory deals with how work transforms from being unpleasant to being enjoyable. Work in general is not pleasant when we start, but when we get to the zone, when we're in the zone, that's called a state of flow. When we're fully immersed in a challenging task, that's when work becomes enjoyable. That happens when we do work that matches our skill level and challenges us in the appropriate way. This leads to profound fulfillment and self-esteem. And a life composed only of leisure, flow will be very, very rare. And so this will push us back to work or work-like activities, even though AI can do most of our work. Finally, there's this Sociometer Theory by Mark Leary. That's an easier name to pronounce. And it suggests that self-esteem is like a social gauge. We gain self-esteem in part from the value that other people place on what we do. Work is one of the best gateway to get other people to value what we do. When we do work that is valued by other people, that's one of the best way to gain self-esteem. People basically show us that they value us by praising our work, by thanking us for our work, and by recognizing it. Without work, it'll be much harder for all of us to show that we are valuable to other people. Now, beyond the theories, we also see the desire to work even now. Let's take people who are retired, retirees who have enough money not only for basic needs, but also for luxury goods like vacations and cars and fun stuff. They still largely try to find and create work for themselves even though they don't have to work. A 2025 survey by a firm called APSI that was done among 1,000 American adults ages 65 to 99 who are still employed full or part-time found that 51% of them plan to work indefinitely, and 40% say they would continue to work even if their finances wasn't an issue. They said that they want to work primarily to stay active and maintain mental and physical health. Another survey that was done among University of California retirees in 2021 that covered nearly 5,000 people who retired from the University of California systems showed that 70% of them stayed engaged through volunteering and other work that they found. Although many of them didn't work for money, they still worked to maintain a sense of meaning in their lives. And let's take the contrary case. What happens when retirees don't find new work? In general, studies don't show that they're happier by not working. In fact, there are many studies that show the opposite, that retirees, especially ones who retired involuntarily, suffer from depression at greater rates than working adults. This is because when you lose your routine, when you lose your purpose and your social ties that come with work, that makes you feel irrelevant and not valued by others. And basically all of the theories that we talked about suggest that this would worsen your mental health, not make it better. In fact, there was an experiment done in 2014 that found that people would even choose to administer a small electric shock to themselves in order to avoid the boredom that they felt when they were left alone with nothing to do and nobody to talk to. Also, even among people who are ultra wealthy, who definitely don't need to work, they just keep going by and large. Why? Usually it's because of passion, achievement, legacy. Take Elon Musk, for example. He still pushes his companies, still pushes his product, mainly because he has a mission to get humanity to Mars. The same goes for Jeff Bezos. The same goes for many, if not most, of the people who are incredibly wealthy, who definitely do not need work because they could never spend their money in their lifetimes. What happens is most millionaires and billionaires don't retire because the work is their identity and their source of status. And if they didn't have their work, they would not have these important things. So what does that mean for you right now? Well, the biggest insight I got from doing this research is to take a long, hard look in the mirror whenever I feel like whining about how much work I have to do, or that the work I'm doing is boring or cumbersome, or that I want to do other work and so I have to transition to other work. The truth is that work defines who we are as human to a large extent, and it's one of the best conduits for the things that we need: meaning, connection, and control over our lives. We sometimes don't realize how valuable something is until it's gone, and I've now come to see that about my work. I, for one, am far more likely to be like the retirees who want to work indefinitely rather than retire and do nothing. And that changed my attitude towards work from annoyance to gratitude, and I hope it does the same for you. Second, it's important to embrace AI to enhance our work rather than fear it. If reluctance to adopt AI is holding you back, you're probably missing out. And the reason I'm saying that is because everyone else is using AI to boost their competence and flow, and yes, even their control over their own career. In other words, they're using AI to help fulfill their basic human needs to have a meaningful and happy life. So what you can do is audit the work that you're doing right now and see if you can integrate AI for more meaningful tasks and more productive tasks as well. That would, by the way, build your self-esteem, because if you do better work with the help of AI, people will value your work. And as we said, one of the theories we talked about, some of our self-esteem comes from other people valuing our work. Third, you want to prioritize growth over just doing work, over hard work. Even though hard work is an important value and we need to work hard in order to achieve anything, growth is more important. The retirees who are engaged in their lives teach us that work can be about necessity when you need the money, but it doesn't have to be about necessity. And in fact, when you have the money necessary for your life, work stops being about material necessity and it comes to be about spiritual necessity for thriving and for having meaning in our lives. So if we adopt a growth mindset with AI, we can have a much better relationship with the coming changes in our lives and in everybody's lives. So to sum up, I think that even if AI helps us do our work or even replaces us with our work, AI will never make people not want to work. Very few people will be content with large amounts of their time spent on leisure. It's hard to imagine it from the everyday grind that all of us are doing, but work will remain something that we choose for our own flourishing, even if we don't need the money. So if there is an AI utopia in the future, I am sure that work will remain part of it.